Hey guys, this is Al. Happy New Year. It's been a while since I last posted. So I haven't really been spending that much time at the shop. I changed jobs and I had to do some traveling. At the beginning of the year I spent 2 weeks in Europe. This car has been a pain in my rear. For you guys who don't know, it's my 71 Mercedes Benz 300 SEL, and I put it up here about December of 2022 to start on the engine mount, and for some deranged reason it's just been one comedy of problems after another. First of all, it felt like the subframe shifted, the subframe mounts were completely shot at the moment. In fact, I'm steadying the phone on one of my cars with the old subframe mount, but this is pretty much how they came apart. So it's supposed to be one piece, but it just completely separated and came apart. Then one of the bolts was so badly rusted, it seized in there and it basically broke inside the subframe. So we had to drill it out and then helicoil it. And then on top of that, the engine kind of shifted, and I couldn't get the mount aligned, or the bolt aligned with the engine. So I just couldn't move this thing off my lift, and it's just been a nightmare. Finally, the kid came by last weekend, and with him holding the engine while the engine stand was lifting up in the air, and while he was holding it, I was able to thread that bolt in and get started on the second one. So that's where I am right now. I'm doing the second engine mount. Hopefully it won't be such a drama, but this car has had new subframe mounts and is getting new engine mounts put in right now. And hopefully I'll be able to get it moved off the lift and actually get some other work done, because I really need my lift, and nothing can get done while my lift is tied up. So yeah, you can see right here, I don't know whether you can see it well enough, but that top bolt on the engine mount I can't even clear the exhaust manifold. So but I think I can get the engine mount off. I've got 2 bolts that I need to kind of undo. Don't really have that much space to move the wrench, but if I can get this off, I can replace this engine mount. Hopefully everything will bolt down without any kind of problems. I also noticed that there was a fuel leak at the fuel rail, so I need to replace those injector hoses, and at some point I'm going to need to replace that airbag, because I think it's getting to a stage where I don't know, what do you guys think? You think it needs replacing? I think it's probably getting close, right? Yeah, the other airbag is much the same way. Bump stop doesn't look too healthy either. But that's kind of where I am. I'll work on this engine mount, see if I can get this all buttoned up, and then I'll give you guys a quick update on some other stuff that I'm doing. So yeah, it was pretty badly collapsed. Alright guys, so the engine mounts are all bolted down. Everything looks good. The engine is sitting nice and high. Most importantly, this fan now moves freely. Before it was pressing up. Subframe mounts are brand new. I did paint the battery tray, but apparently Rust-Oleum Hunter Green and Mercedes Benz Hunter Green are 2 different colors, but that's okay because it's just a battery tray and I just don't want it to look rusty like it is over here. I'll probably paint this with a brush and match the color properly when it's time. Got to be real careful because there's a bunch of steel lines for the air and everything else like that. Let's get it started. So I'm not sure what keeps going on with this ignition coil, but sometimes it wants to fire and sometimes it doesn't. I'm going to put it over here so that I can see when it starts firing. So it's still leaking fuel at that cylinder, which I think is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, cylinder number 5, I think. I'm not sure if it's the injector or the hose itself. The hose is on pretty tight, so I'm just going to mess with it, but it is just leaking a squish at the bottom, and I'm not sure if it's coming from the injector in itself. If you could hear clearly, I don't know whether you could hear it, but I could hear the hiss from the air suspension system. So the airbags on the air suspension system are horribly perished. Hearing that hiss means the pump's working correctly, which means I can start tackling the air suspension. I'll probably block it again with 2x4s, and you know, that way I can lift the suspension up and get the car off the lift. And once I get the car off the lift, then I can get some other stuff done. But I'm happy that it's up and running. And I mean, I haven't driven this car in you know, more than a year, and I've barely driven it since I bought it. I bought it back in, I don't know, May 2022 or something like that. But you saw it just fired up on the button, and this is really why I love these old Mercedes. I mean, they're such well-built cars. I mean, this car is horribly neglected, but it still fires right up. There's a weirdness going on with the coil. I'm not sure exactly what the story is, but you know, I showed a picture when I was writing the video. There's a wire that is hanging loose, and I thought it was supposed to be connected to the coil plug, but when I tried to connect it, it still didn't fire. And then after I used this KD Tools substitute ignition system, that's what it's called. After I used that and I was able to start the car, I could see that the coil was energizing and it was firing, so I just put everything back and it fired back up, and that wire was still disconnected. So I don't know I don't know what the deal is. That's not the right wire. There's supposed to be an ignition control unit there. There's supposed to be ballast resistors and stuff like that, and none of that stuff is in the car. So somebody, you know, messed with the ignition system, but it seems to work when it wants to. So I'm going to mess around with that, those hose connections, you know, make sure that they're on tight and they're on the right spot. See if I can get that leak to go away. If it doesn't, then it may be a problem with the injector or the injector cup, and I'm guessing it's probably the injector that's leaking. And then I have to figure out something, because those yellow injectors aren't easy to come by. They're somewhat rare, because the 3.5s were rare. The 4.5s, you know, were available. But we'll figure out something. We'll make it work.